We are going to create this card today, the You're So Appreciated card, and it's created with the Rolling Waves dies. And this sentiment is actually from the All Aflutter bundle that has the little butterflies and the butterfly punch. So, but there's great sentiments with the Rolling Waves stamp set too, if you have that. So this would I just had some extra sentiments left, so I went ahead and popped that on. And I created this a few weeks ago, but I thought it would be fun to share with you today. So I will wait, let's see, it's 11:02. I'll wait a couple minutes till 11:04, 11:05, and then we'll go ahead and get started. And I see someone is already here. Thank you so much for joining. I know this Rolling Waves bundle has been very popular. I think it may be not available at the moment, or maybe it's back in stock. I can't remember, but it's been in and out of stock several times, I think. So it is really a fun one. Obviously great because it's summertime, but great to use all year round for any kind of cards or projects, and it's great for masculine cards too, so you can really do a lot with it. And I created a card kit back in was it my May card kit, I believe, May or April it might have been, using the Rolling Waves bundle. So lots of fun. I've really enjoyed it. This is definitely a keeper. You know, I sort through, probably like a lot of you, stamp sets and supplies. And, you know, I mean, I love everything I have. I wouldn't have bought it to begin with if I didn't. But, you know, at some point, like most of you that have been stamping for a while, or maybe not so long, you start to accumulate so much. So, anyways, the point is, this is one I'm definitely keeping. It will not be leaving my craft room ever. All right, let's see, it's 11:04. I will wait till 11:05 and then I will get started. And it looks like I have a couple more people on. Thank you for joining. We're going to get started in just a sec. Just giving a chance for anyone else that wants to hop on quick. All right, it is 11:05. I am going to go ahead and get started. Let me turn my light on here too, an extra light, I should say. All right, so we are going to create, for those that weren't on a few minutes ago, we are going to create this card using the Rolling Waves dies. I actually didn't use the stamp set on this one. And then this sentiment is from the All Aflutter stamp set that has all the little butterflies and the butterfly punch. So I thought it fit perfectly on this card. But like I said, there's some great sentiments in the Rolling Wave stamp set as well. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. I did just get ahead just a tiny bit. I created my card base. This is pretty peacock cardstock. And then I have basic white thick cardstock on here, cut just slightly smaller. So I've got about 1/8 of an inch border all the way around here. Okay. And now I have my embossed cardstock. This I'm going to hold it up further. The Join Together embossing folder, which is being discontinued, and I think it's on low inventory. So if you don't have this one and you love embossing folders as much as I do, you may want to go ahead and grab that. I don't even have the suite that this went with, but I am an embossing folder fanatic, so most of the time I order every embossing folder there is. There's a few random ones I don't have. But anyways, this is a great one if you don't have it. just to keep around. And I love that there's all the little patterns. But of course, if you don't have this embossing folder, you can really use any one that you would like. So let's go ahead and adhere that to the card base. I'm just going to add my dimensionals. Lots of dimensionals as usual. And actually, you know what? I am not going to add this to the card base yet because I'm going to add all my other little layers on here, and I may want to trim off a little bit on the edges. So I'm going to hold off on that, but it's ready to go when we get there. Okay. All right. So let me set that aside. So now we're going to create all these little layers, and we have a few different things to do. We're going to create the bottom layer here. I know it's probably hard to see. That was with Pretty Peacock ink, and I do see that I need to use the little border die here to cut that out. So let me step away for just a minute and cut that, okay? All right, so I just cut that border off. Okay. So that's going to line up with the other die cuts that we have. So what we're going to do first, I'm going to put some scratch paper down here. We're going to add some Pretty Peacock. And you can go as light or as dark as you want, and I'm not worried. I already kind of made a little boo-boo there. This does not have to be perfect because I am going to splatter it with water. Okay, maybe just a little more. Okay, let's do that. So we're done with the Pretty Peacock. Now I'm going to take this next layer. Oops, they're tangled up. Which has this wider border across the top. We're going to add Coastal Cabana to that. I've kind of created a cool pattern there. Almost like a stencil. All right, let's see. So we're going to add Coastal Cabana. Now, what you could also do, which I do a lot too, you could add the ink just to your piece of cardstock, whatever size that might be. Do your blending brush, you know, add the ink with the blending brush, splatter the water droplets, dry it, and then die cut your pieces. So you can do that as well. Either or, whichever you prefer. Okay, that looks good. All right, so now what we're going to do, let's make sure I have everything out of the way. We are going to add some water droplets. And let me get my little cap here, just 1 second. I know there's plenty of ways to add splattering, so you can do it however you want. This is just how I do it. Again, making sure I've got everything out of the way, making sure the ink's flowing. So this is what I do. I just use a cap. This might be from a Mister, maybe? I can't remember. But I use other caps too. It doesn't really matter. It's basically like if you do add the speckling with a Stampin' Blends marker or our Stampin' Write markers that are discontinued. Same idea. So this is what I'm going to do. Just going to splatter water droplets here. And let me get some on this piece. I already got some from splattering my other piece, so. All right, a little bit more there. Okay, and now we're going to take a heat tool. Let me move this out of the way here. All right. I just use printer paper kind of for my scratch paper here. I always keep some on hand because it's nice to put underneath pieces you're working on that require ink. And bear with me while I dry this. Just using my heat tool, so it might take a few minutes. Let me put these side by side. They might dry quicker. Sorry, I know all you're probably seeing is the heat tool, but I really have to have it over the paper to dry it. So just trying to get those big water droplets to dry. So bear with me. I think that's the fun though of doing the water splattering. You never know what you're going to end up with. So it's really fun. Got one little spot here that is being difficult. It's almost dry. There we go. And let's finish this one. Okay, that is looking good. Let me get this out of the way. So now we're going to layer all of our pieces together. So we've got this piece that is our background here. That's the pretty peacock, excuse me. And then we've got our Coastal Cabana piece, and then we have one that's just the basic white cardstock. So we're going to add this on here. So let me get my glue going. And I'm just going to add a few little drops here randomly, just so this more delicate part of the die cut will stick down. And let's get that lined up. And don't worry that this is hanging over. I'm going to be trimming all that off. Okay. Just looking there. Okay. And now we're going to add this piece on top. So again, just strategically placing some glue drops here. Now this one you could actually, if you wanted to, die cut this, you know, from the basic white cardstock, but use an adhesive sheet underneath. So totally up to you. And then we're going to add this on here. So lining up really just that top border. It's moving around on me just a little bit. Hang on. All right, I think we're good now. Let me make sure that's stuck down. Okay, so now, oops, I almost forgot what we're going to do too, is I'm going to tear off this edge, which I could have done before, but so I'm going to tear part of this off. So I don't know if you can see. I tore off the pretty peacock piece, and then I have another piece of basic white that cardstock I'm going to tear and add underneath that. And it's kind of funny, I do a lot of tearing. When I first started stamping up, gosh, originally probably almost 20 years ago, 15 to 20 anyways, well over 15. The tearing was a big thing. And then, you know, there's so many techniques, and it kind of, I didn't see as much of it, at least, you know, with what I was doing. And then just the last few years, I personally started doing it again, and I really love it. And I kind of, you know, like that shabby chic kind of distressed look on a lot of my projects anyway, so it's perfect for that. All right, so I've got that edge torn off, and then I'm going to take a piece of basic white thick cardstock and tear that as well. And then we're going to layer that underneath, and I'm going to tear off a little bit more here. But this is all very organic, really just like the water splattering. So for people that, you know, really like things to look the same, which nothing wrong with that. Like if I'm recreating stuff, I do want things to look the same. But when you're doing the tearing or the water splattering, you're going to get a different effect each time, which is the fun of it. So I really enjoy doing that. Okay, so let's see where I want to line this up. I've actually got more than I need. So right about here, and then I'm going to trim all of that off, but I'm going to wait until I adhere it down. Okay, so now we're going to adhere everything on here, and then I'm going to trim off those edges. And as I mentioned before a couple months ago, I did do a card kit using the Rolling Waves bundle. And I know there may be some of you on here that already buy my card kits or have bought some of them. So the card kits are only available, the complete kit with the pieces cut and all of that, for a specific limited amount of time during the month the card kit is ordered. But the PDF and all of my PDFs are available anytime. So you can always get those. And the point being, if you decided you wanted the Rolling Waves, sorry, just trying to focus on my cutting here. The Rolling Waves PDF, you can just message me and I can send you a PayPal invoice, and all of my PDFs are $10. Each. So you can get those at any time well after the card kit has been, the registration for the card kit has ended. So I just wanted to throw that out there. And because I love this Rolling Waves one. It's so much fun. So much fun. All right, so we're going to go ahead and adhere that down. We've still got some work here. Getting all those backings off. And thanks for those of you joining me. I see several people on. I can see faces. So thank you for being here. And as always, if you have anything you need clarified or anything like that, you can always pop something in under the comments and I will be happy to answer it. Okay? I think that looks good. Maybe I always do this. I look at it and then I think, oh, it looks kind of crooked. So let me adjust it. Oh my gosh. Okay, we're going to nudge it up there a little bit. Okay, that looks good. Now what we're going to do is we're going to color the little palm leaves and the starfish. So let's do the starfish first. I'm going to bring back in my scratch paper here for my watercoloring. So I've got a large one and two small ones. And then we're going to do the palm leaves. So what I used for the starfish was Petal Pink and Flirty Flamingo, but you can use whatever combination you want. And I'm just trying to get ink in the lid here. There we go. So you can see, and I didn't fully, I don't know how well you can see this. I kind of washed it with Petal Pink first and then added Flirty Flamingo on part of it. And I kind of did that with each starfish. So I didn't fully cover it with a single color, if that makes sense. All right, so I'm going to get my ink pretty watery. Oh, and by the way, these are actually cut from Fluid 100 watercolor paper. So not basic white thick cardstock, Fluid 100 watercolor paper, just to clarify, okay? So let me add the wash here. And I am keeping it pretty watery because I want to get that Flirty Flamingo on there, and I want that to kind of blend. And again, this is all very organic as well. So just keep that in mind. Now I'm getting my Flirty Flamingo here, and I'm just adding that to part of it. Okay. I'm just kind of dabbing it with my finger there. Okay. I think this one needs a little more Flirty Flamingo. And maybe a little more on here. So you can always come back and add some more color. All right. So there are our three little starfish. Let me move those out of the way. Whoops. And you just want to make sure those are dry, which that should dry pretty quickly, but I can always use my heat tool. Okay. Now I've got my palm leaves. I did these pretty basic, actually. I just used Granny Apple Green, but you can use whatever green you prefer. I'm going to do a light wash of the Granny Apple Green first. So pretty pale, I guess you would say. And then whoops, slipping around here. Now I'm going to come in and add some dark in the middle. So not quite so much water. Not quite as much water, I should say. That wasn't a very good sentence. So first I had more water than ink. Now I've got quite a bit more ink. Just to make it a little darker down the middle. I'm not doing anything fancy. I'm going to kind of touch up the edges here because they're almost too light. So pretty quick and easy on this. Okay, I think I'm going to go a little darker here in the middle. Just a little more color. Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to dry these with a heat tool just to be sure, because I'm going to put dimensionals on the back and kind of hard for those to stick if the paper's still wet. So bear with me again. I'm going to hold this down with my Take Your Pick tool. Let me get situated. All right. I'm going to dry the back too, just to be sure. I'm checking. These are actually dry. I was going to dry them with a heat tool, but I think they're dry. So the starfish are good to go. All right, so let's bring our card back in. And let me get my dimensionals out. Okay. And of course you can arrange these pieces however you want. I'm going to add a small dimensional here because we're going to overlap these and I don't want it to get too thick with dimensionals on one side, if that makes sense. I want everything to lay, even though I'm adding dimension, I want it to lay flat. Actually, I put these on the wrong side. Hang on just a minute. Move it over here. There we go. Okay. So we're going to add, let me move this up. Sorry, I'm working way on the edge there. That's not good. Okay, so you can see on this original card, I've kind of got them curved here. So I'm going to try and do about the same thing. I'm going to have one up here, something like that. Maybe down a little further. Let's see. And one right about, let me go over a little more. Right about there. I think that looks good. Let's see. I know I could be fussing with this all day. All right. So, oops, just lost a starfish. So now I'm going to wait and add the starfish at the end because I'm going to tuck one at least kind of under the sentiment here. And then I have my linen thread that I'm going to, and you can see here, I just did swirls kind of, or circles with the linen thread. I didn't actually do a bow on this one, surprising. So, and I'm thinking about where I want to put the dimensionals because I don't want them in the way of the linen thread. So I'm going to put some out here. I'm going to use mini dimensionals. And I'm actually going to do 2 layers. Hang on just a minute. Let me get those backs off. And let me add the second layer. And let's see. I'm going to put one, I'm just looking at the card kind of to see, my original card, kind of seeing where I had that linen thread. So I can always kind of squeeze some dimensionals back under there if I need to, but I think this is going to be okay for now. So I'm just seeing where I'm going to place this. It's going to go right about here. Maybe up a little bit higher. And I'm going to add a few mini glue dots here to hold my linen thread in place. So let me do that. And I'm going to obviously place them where they're going to be covered by the sentiment. That's why I was kind of looking at where I'm going to place the sentiment. Just so those little glue dots are hidden. Okay, so now this is all I'm going to do. I could add a bow if I wanted to, but I thought this was something different. I'm just going to do, I don't know, I think I did probably 5 or 6 little circles here. I just kind of wound this into a circle, but then I kind of spread them out. And again, this is kind of organic too. You can arrange it somewhat, but sometimes that thread is just going to do what it wants to do. And maybe I'm going to add one more little circle here. So hopefully that makes sense. And if you don't want to mess with the linen thread at all, you don't even have to do that. So totally up to you. But I think we're looking pretty good. All right, now I am going to add my sentiment right here. That looks good. Okay. Actually, you know what? On this end, I got ahead of myself. Because those leaves are already popped up, I only need one dimensional on there. So let me just add a fresh one. I peeled the old ones off. So let me just squeeze that back under there. So now I only have one. Now it's going to lay nice and flat. And I'm probably going to add, I am going to add another double layer of mini dimensionals in the center now that I know where that linen thread's going to be. I know this is probably being pickier than I need to, but I don't want my sentiment to be saggy in the middle, if I can help it. So I'm just going to take my take your pick tool, squeeze that under there. Perfect. So we're good to go. All right. Now all we have to do is add our starfish and our embellishments. And on the big starfish, I probably should add mini dimensionals. The regular dimensional is just a little too big. So let me add a couple dimensionals. And then I'm just going to add one on these tiny ones. Okay, let me get the backings off. See, this one was even almost too big too. I'm sure you guys all do this. I even cut the mini dimensionals in half sometimes if I need them. Just for those little tiny areas, which is what I'm going to do right here on this starfish. So I have a full mini dimensional and then a half a mini dimensional. If that makes sense. All right, that's better. Now it won't show. So this I have kind of tucked right in here. Let me move it over just a little. Okay, that looks good. And I'm going to add a small one here. And another one. Let me move that around. Up there. Okay. And what you can do, if you have, I'm trying to see, I have this fine tip glue. You can take this, I will do this in a couple spots actually, and to get that linen thread to lay flat so it's not slipping around so much. So I'm going to add a little there. You don't need much, but it kind of helps. Okay, and I can add more if I need to later, but that's just something you can do if you want to. Let me get that lid back on. All right, so now all we have to do is add our embellishments, which are the pearlized faceted circles. And I realize these are really only 3 different colors. There's a white, but it picks up other colors. There's a, gosh, I've got a loose one here. There's, this is, I guess, petal pink, and this is more of a calypso coral. But oh my gosh, they go so well with so many things. And I like those soft, you know, the petal pinks, and now the Barely Blush, and those subtle kind of shabby chic colors. So it goes well. I use it for a lot of my projects. So I know it came out with a suite of excuse me, suite of products, but I can't tell you how many packages of these I've used. And now I've got little bits and pieces here left from other packages. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to try and place them just like I did on the first one, kind of about the same area. So I've actually got a white one here. I'm going to use, let's see, I've got a petal pink one here. Down here, I'm going to use a Calypso Coral right about here. Let's see, what do I have up here? I'm going to add a small Calypso Coral up here. I'm going to use a petal pink. And the petal pink and the white, depending on where you place them, they look almost the same, depending where you're placing them and what color they're next to or what color they're on. So you really can't go wrong. Okay, so I've got that one there, and then I'm going to do another little Calypso Coral one over here. And we are all done. I can go ahead and trim my thread off a little bit. And let me kind of curl this around a little bit. There we go. So we have our card all done. So again, I hope you guys enjoyed this. If this interests you at all, and normally I don't try and promote anything on my Facebook Lives. I just love to come on and show you. But I know this Rolling Waves bundle has been so popular. So if you don't have it, you may want to get it. And if you already have it and need some more ideas, I do have that PDF still available. So just message me and I can send you a PayPal invoice, and they're just $10, and you can get any of my PDFs at any time. Okay, the card kits are just limited to the dates within the month that I offer them. So, but and the card kits include you know, all the die cut pieces and all of that. So anyways, again, if you guys have any questions on this, need anything clarified, just let me know. And thank you so much for joining me. Hope you have a great rest of your week. And I will see you sometime next month. Thank you so much. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.